Well, good evening and welcome to this Thursday night. If you're watching this live, it's 9:30 on the East Coast. This is pjnet.tv. A special welcome to those of you who have joined us live on rumble.com. You are our lifeblood. We so appreciate our viewers and those who have subscribed. We don't even ask people to do that, but they do it anyway. And you all are wonderful. By the way, if you're watching it live, you can watch it live as you're doing, or you can go to pjnet.tv and you can watch it there and be in our chat room, meet some new people. Well, tonight, for the 379th time, we welcome a first-time guest, and that is always a special occasion. And I'm always fascinated to hear their story. What we do here at pjnet.tv is provide a platform for everyday Christians to share their walk with Christ. And we have heard some amazing stories. Not long ago, you may perhaps remember that Pete Cruz was with us. And he had an incredible story, as all of our guests do. But tonight, a friend of his, Chris Hennessy, joins us. He is also from the left coast. Now, Chris, we kind of intersected our paths under some rather unusual circumstances. I posted something on Facebook that, hey, if you're thinking about doing a podcast, there's a lot of misinformation out there. If you want me to clear you up on some of it, give me a shout. Well, you responded, but we weren't Facebook friends at the time, so I was very suspicious. But I saw we had a mutual friend in Pete Cruz. So how do you know Pete?
Pete and I met at California Writers Club, the Sacramento branch, about 5 years ago. And we really got close in the last 8 months since his book came out, because I read his book, and after knowing his story, it's like, I became a big fan of him as a person, as a man, and I love him to death. I'm helping him with some stuff now. He's doing speaking engagements. I'm also a filmmaker. I'm gonna put together a short speaking reel for him. So,
well, he's got quite the message, and subsequent to his appearance on our program, he had to go somewhere to collect some trophies or something.
Yeah, he just got back from Chicago, so I heard the lowdown. He in one of the indie book awards in Chicago on Friday night, he got presented with a gold medal for best memoir. And we're all out here in our area, in our club, and with all the writers, we're very over the moon proud of him, because we know what it takes to, the entire journey is daunting, writing the book and getting it published. And he did it. And now he went through incredibly brutal challenges as a kid, having parents that, pretty much neglected him and the other siblings. So the fact that he's built a life for himself is amazing. And the fact that he wrote that book, and it's a great book, and he's getting acclaim for it. He's a man who, because of his upbringing, had very little confidence. And now it's coming out, and he's our age, and he's just coming into his own. I just told him today, I said, listen, this is the start of the rest of your life. And he's a healthy guy. He's got a lot of years left. So we expect more great things from Pete.
Well, and he's also a motorcyclist, so that makes him really special to me, because I've sold my motorcycle some years ago, but it's days like today that make me wonder why'd I do that. You speak with a great deal of authority on the book writing journey, but I thought you were a filmmaker.
Yes, I'm a longtime indie filmmaker, and 1990, I started calling myself an indie filmmaker without even a class under my belt, but I really wanted to do it because I bought a video camera to film my kids, and I became addicted to telling stories with it. So, long story short, I started doing it, and I was completely captivated and into it and wanted success badly. And I never looked back. I quit my job, which was really scary, and I've been doing it ever since. I've created a couple of thousand professional films. And I worked for many of the companies in Silicon Valley, like Google and eBay and Apple and Office Max, et cetera, et cetera. And all of those films and telling all those stories and doing all that directing just made me really good at what I do, a really good storyteller. And when this incident happened with my daughter about 13 years ago, I started thinking, I'm going to write a book. I had written articles for several video magazines, and I embarked on a journey that has just been just awesome. And I'm getting to the point now in the next year, my book is finally going to be done. And I'm working with, an editor and other people. And yeah, so I'm excited. I'm psyched. I want to tell you about the book.
I want to get to that, but I have to. Let me go to this before we get on the book, which we will. You started in this filmmaking journey back in the 90s. So now, do you get your hands dirty with the editing and the production, or are you just kind of the director kind of guy?
No, I did everything. When you become a videographer, that's what they call it these days. That's what they started calling it a long time ago. You're pretty much a one-man studio. So you do the shooting, you do the directing, sometimes the writing, and then you do the editing, and then you deliver to the client. So I think it was great experience to be down in the trenches with all of those clients, not only learning how to sell, not only learning how to take their vision and make a film into it and add my special touch and, help them write and stuff like that. But, producing and directing and then doing the editing. The editing is really where you're doing the storytelling. And it can be tedious, and I've taken 10-hour films and crafted them down to a 2-minute promotional video for a company, and it's a real art, but it's something I've always enjoyed very much. And all of that, I retired from the schlep about 5 years ago. Now I'm just doing my own projects, but all of that stuff put hair on my chest, made me the man I am today. It was better than like a college education. It was probably like 2 college educations. And now when you're at the point in life where you're just doing the projects you want, oh man, life is good.
Well, when you think back to the early and mid 90s, the tools we have to work with have come a very, very long way.
Wow. Oh, let me tell you, when I first started, I was excited because they came out with this. I was shooting with a VHS. It's the real crummy camera. And they came out with super VHS, SVHS. And we all thought it was so great. But boy, I'll tell you what, if you would have, I'm talking to you guys on my iPhone 12. And in some of the film productions that I'm doing these days, I use this for cutaways and shots. And it's, if you would have shown me this, yeah, we've come light years. I think the statistic is something like what you could do in 1990 with $1 million studio. Final Cut Pro 10 is a great software, and it cost about, $500. And it's just amazing that we have the ability to create a professional film and something, really as good as Hollywood, depending on how much of a storyteller. But it's light.
We can compete where before it would have taken $1 million. And I'm glad you made this point, because it's a point that I preach, Chris, is we as Christians have access to tools to compete in the marketplace of ideas. I call it's kind of like a Corvette. A Corvette, Chris, is not a Ferrari, but it's competitive with a Ferrari. Well, here's the good news. I don't care what a Ferrari will do. I don't care if a Ferrari would cure cancer. I'll never be able to afford one. But you know what? You can afford a Corvette. If you really want to, you can really get one. So I think that the technology, for purposes of advancing the kingdom, there has never been a more opportune time than there is today. And yet, so many do not leverage that. And that's a sermon I won't preach tonight.
Well, that's because they're fearful. But let me tell you real quick is here's another thing. Not only we can produce the videos, but I remember in around 2008 when I made my first video to put onto YouTube. YouTube had just opened, so I filmed this. I filmed the American national women's soccer team. They were just getting ready to go over to either the Olympics or the World Cup, and they were amazing. And I did some comedy with them, and they were incredible athletes. And Hope Solo was a big shot goalie at that time, and her and Abby Wambach, and I put it on my YouTube. It's like the first video I put on YouTube. And when I saw people starting to press the button and watch it, as an artist and as an entertainer, you want to entertain people and teach them. People started to watch it, and my first video I ever put on YouTube, it went viral. It got like 250,000 views, and I was like, I like this.
Yeah. And went downhill from there. Yeah, it was like, Chris, when I bought a bass boat, that was such a big deal for me. The first time I went out, I caught a 5-pound bass. And I must have gone 100 times more and never caught another 5-pound bass. But that kept, it all seemed so worth it at the time. And it really wasn't.
Yeah.
But well, before we go to your book, one last thing. You said you had done work for some very big name brands. How did you connect with them that they hired you, or how do you penetrate the gatekeepers that surround these people or these companies?
Yeah, I think the lack of fear is a big thing, and I think the ability to take action is a big thing. And one of the things I understood right away when I started filming events, and I did about 1,000 weddings. Those were tough gigs. They put hair on your chest, and I did all of that work for the 49ers and Apple and all those guys. I realized right away the power of word of mouth, the power of networking. And I went to networking meetings, and I just didn't stand around and drink alcohol. I drank club soda, and I walked around and I introduced myself to people, and I got cards. And anytime I was at a gig working, I'd give my card out. And I was enthused, and I was excited, and I loved what I do, and I did great work, and I got my name out there. And, I got a call, in the early 90s from a woman said, "Hi, Chris, you were referred to me by the people that were going to be the band at this event." And this was the best, at the time, best band in the whole Bay Area. And she said, "I want you to film my husband's 60th surprise birthday party. He used to be one of the coaches of the 49ers. And I was like, well, that's probably some guy I never heard of. So after talking a little while, I asked, "What's your husband's name?" She said, "Bill Walsh." So I did Bill Walsh's 60th surprise birthday party, and then I did his son's wedding, and then I did a couple of 49er parties. And that, not only that gave me the confidence to know I could do anything, but besides the confidence, as far as making contacts and stuff, that's how I did. I spread the word by mouth, organic, no ads.
Wow. Well, that is amazing, and it can be done, but you overcame that bashfulness, that shyness, that fear, and introduced yourself to some people. And that's hard to do, Chris,
Exactly.
for a lot of people. I'm not comfortable doing it, but I realize, when you go to the time and the expense to go to these events, what are you going to do? You sit there and watch the parade go by and let other people eat the cake. And if you do,
Exactly.
they will eat the cake and you will watch them eat it. But that's a tough part of the business that I struggle with, but we do have to overcome that. So you're more of a man in many ways than I am. I hope to reach that level of confidence. Now, I don't know if you wanted to talk about your book or not, but in case you did, Touched by Hannah. First of all, this book is not yet published, right?
Correct.
Tell us more.
Oh, Touched by Hannah is not yet published. Well, in 2009, basically the tagline of Touched by Hannah is a man with cancer, Hennessy, his 1 pound newborn, and their fight to live. So Hannah was due December 7th, 2009. She was born September 1st, 2009. They called it, she wasn't just a preemie, she was a micro preemie. She was 1 pound, 9 ounces. Less than a month before that, I had radical prostatectomy cancer surgery at Stanford. I had some life-threatening side effects I was dealing with, including DVT blood clots in my legs. And, you know, all of a sudden, Hannah was born, and it was just an amazing experience. It was an amazing journey to go through. And Hannah spent the first 3 months in her life in the hospital. But about 2 or 3 years later, I was thinking a lot about different things, and I thought, I think my story is a good story. And I embarked upon, and I was going to create a film, and then I thought, you know what, I want to get my story out first, the whole thing in a book, before I make the movie. That's a journey I've been working on since about 2014. Had a couple of roadblocks in there. I had 3 years where I struggled with severe mental illness, and I couldn't work for 3 years. And thank God I overcame that. And then 2 years I was producing my TV show, YOLO Yo-Yo's up here, which wound up to be very successful, which Hannah was a star in. I didn't write during those years. So any case, I'm working with an editor now. I can't believe how much better it's making the book. And I'm excited about getting to the point that Pete was, where when I can hold that book in my hand and say, here it is, baby, it's going to be just an epic achievement. My whole life is built around accomplishing things, and, you know, accomplishing things just is good for the heart and soul and for everything.
You have a list of credentials in the filmmaking industry that is, I don't call it a resume, I call it a dossier. We can't possibly go into all of that, but it seems to me that you've added writing a book on top of that, and it seems to me, based on how we connected, that you are also taking a leap and going down the podcast or vlog path that you hear everybody tells these aspiring writers and authors and all that, you've got to do a podcast, but you're actually going to do it. How scary is that?
It's not scary at all, because I talked to you this morning, and you were kind enough to send me a list of things. Like, I'm a film producer, so I'm pretty hip on equipment. And as far as interviewing people on camera, I told you this morning, I've interviewed like 20,000 people on camera. So I'm very comfortable with it. I know I'm going to enjoy doing the podcast, but it was the other stuff that was holding me back. But now I know how to get the microphone and some of the, and what I learned recently is I thought building a platform was for an author was primarily around social media. But the biggest thing that they look for is your email list. And I've heard that all successful authors today have a podcast, which helps not only expand their reach and get people to really know them, but then you get, the email signups from that.
Well, in one hand,
so I'm excited about it. I'm going to enjoy it, and learning from somebody like you. I mean, God just dumped you in my lap, and I knew of you, and here we are connecting, and here I am tonight talking on your show. But you're going to be one of the few people that I've like a mentor to me in podcasting. So I'm so thankful that I have you.
Well, I'm thankful that you replied to my call to action, I guess you can call it. There may be people who are, if you're a writer or an author, you've been told you've got to do this podcast. But I thought of it this way, and I'm not a writer, but yet I've been to numerous Christian writers conferences, and I keep
Yes.
hearing the same things, So and I get to talk to the authors as well. Here's the way I summarize it, or here's how the perspective from which I see this is God kind of calls you to do something, like, say, write a book. And the author says, yes, Lord, yes, I'll do it. They may not be all that confident, but they are confident that if the Lord called them to do it, they'll do it. So then they get told, well, you need to go to this writers' conference. Well, that's an investment of time and money. It's not cheap, it's not free. So that's kind of a detour to go to the writers' conference. You know what I'm saying? And it's a sacrifice, it's an investment. It's kind of a detour on this journey to writing a book. You got to go over here to this conference. So they go to the conference because that's where you meet the editors and the acquisition managers and the publishers,
The agents.
the agents and the keynote speakers. So they go to the conference, and they hear, oh, you've got to do this blog, you've got to have an email list, you've got to build your platform. And then they go to the so that's another detour. And then they find out, oh, you've got to get an agent, and you've got to build up your platform to even get the attention of the agent, so that you can get the attention of the publisher, so that you can get your book published that you're going to write. And I'm thinking, by the time you've taken that many detours, you are nowhere near the course you had set out to go on. And I
Well, you know
can't
what?
help but wonder. Go ahead.
No, you go. You can't but wonder what.
I'm about to wrap it up, and then I'll turn it back over to you. But I can't help but wonder that these people said, Lord, I agreed, to write a book. I didn't buy into all this other stuff, Lord. And
Well,
I can just hear the Lord saying, if I would have told you everything, you wouldn't have agreed to it in the first place. Folks, don't consider these things a detour. Consider them a part of the journey that God's called you to do, and embrace them. Don't resist them. Embrace them, because you are reaching people. That's what we're doing, folks. We're reaching people.
Yep.
Okay, I'm done preaching, Chris. I'm sorry.
And you're reaching people, and it's the journey. Yeah, can be daunting, because writing the book, and like when I started, I'm working with Cecil Murphy right now, helping my book. He's a Christian author who sold 25 million books. And he's retired. He's 90 years old, and he takes on proteges like Pete. That's one of the reasons why Pete's book was so epic, is he had Cecil, and I have Cecil's help. And it's hard because he's old school and he pushes you. And I thought my writing was good. Now I look at it after, like, he says, I'll write this better and do that. And then you write it, and it's like, wow, it's magic. But then there's all the other stuff that you got to think of, like the building the platform and doing the social media. I'm fortunate in that I was in sales and marketing for 10 years before I became a filmmaker. And then as a filmmaker, all the hundreds of clients I had, I sold those projects myself. I've done a lot of marketing. So I have a real head start. I understand the importance of it. And the last several years, I've done a really good job building up my social media, and I have a good mailing list. However, the thing, when you go to a conference, not only do you meet those people and the publishers and the agents, and connecting with authors is so enriching and a great learning experience. But I took a class on platform building that said, hey, the most important part of the platform is doing the newsletter. And all the successful authors these days are doing the podcast. And that's and the reason why the email list is the most important of them all. It's even more important than social media. Social media is very important, because when it comes down to it, Facebook tomorrow could say, you know what, Chris, you're left California, or you're like whatever, you're Republican, and they could delete my account, and my thousands of contacts are gone. That email list is ours. We always own it. And a direct email, direct contact with people like that is the best way to get your word out. So, I went to the conference. It was a great move. It was perfect timing. God brought me there at the right time. I learned all that stuff. I've already got a lot of stuff going on. And now I know that I've already got this newsletter all set up and ready to roll. I got it on my website. So later this month, late July, I'll get my first newsletter out. And then I knew I had to do a podcast thing, and I saw Mark post a thing. Hey, I can help you guys with podcasts. So I reached, and here we are today. Not only did you help me so much moving forward to know like some of the technicalities, but I'm psyched, man. I mean, this is the back when I first started. In order to get yourself known, nobody was going to see my videos unless I sent it to a producer and they put it on TV, which wasn't going to happen. But with today's technology, I've had millions of people see my films and be entertained because of because of the internet and YouTube and Facebook and all of that stuff. And while I'm not happy with my daughter using a cell phone a lot, and I think it's something that is a really big discussion for the country and for the world, the technology itself, like to create a book, create it, and to create a film, I do what I can do what Spielberg does right here in my office. Mm-hmm. And then writing a book. My grandfather was a big writer in New York City in the 1920s. He never saw cut and paste. He died in 1990. He wrote with a ribbon typewriter. Well, I cut and paste, which is Grandpa. If Grandpa saw that, he'd go, "That's magic." But then I got the synonym thing open up. I can, I don't have to go to the library for anything. It's all here. So for writing and, for doing those type of creating projects, the tools we have, it's magic. It's wonderful. It's enriching. And man, I'm like a kid in a I'm not good at hammering nails into a 2x4. Not at all. And especially if I'm chewing gum. But with the stuff, these tools in my office here in my house, oh, baby.
Yeah, there's really no excuse. Chris, we've run out of time, but I did want to just squeeze in. You've done so much, but that fascinating story of a book trailer that, a 2-minute book trailer that turned into a short movie.
Yeah, I wanted to do a book trailer for Touch My Hannah. And by the time I got to the footage and everything, it turned into a 13-minute film, which is a short film. And it's a trailer. And I figured, you know what? In the first minute of that trailer rocks. So even if they just watch the first minute or two, I'm still getting a good message across. But I submitted that on Film Freeway. You can find any film festival in the world and a lot of the writing festivals too. I submitted it, and I called my film Miracles on College Street, Daddy and Daughter Tread on Deathbeds. And if you go to my website, you can see it. That film won Most Inspirational Film last year. It was a year ago this week because I saw it on my Facebook that I went to New York City and my film won Most Inspirational Film. And even though it's really not a finished film, it won top 5 documentary, and it also won runner-up Best Cable TV Episode West Coast 2022. So and then I had a music video with my daughter Hannah, and I sang a song, and we created a video, and we won the Yuba City Arts and Film Festival with a music video with me singing. I've never sang. What we can do on our computers is magic. So if you have the talent and the drive, you can do almost anything these days.
You can. Hen Chris, it's on the
even drive a Harley.
Yeah, you ask Pete. henchris.com is the website, and we always run out of time here. You can find out more there, and you can connect with Chris there. Chris, I'm just glad that you were able to join us tonight. We were kind of in a situation, but you bailed us out, and it's been a real thrill having you here. Your passion and is oozing out every pore, and we should be that way when it comes to doing work in the kingdom. So we appreciate you sharing with that tonight.
Coming from you, Mark, that means the world. You and everybody was talking about Pete. And this was a conference in Chicago. So you're doing some great things, and keep it up. I'm proud. You know, we should come back on. I should come back on again, and you and I will keep in touch, brother.
Yeah, we'll have you back. Get that book published, and let's talk some more then.
Amen.
There it is. All right. Well, that was fun. Chris Hennessy, what a is he excited or what? All right. If you are not excited about what you're doing, do something else. Do whatever that is. Please do yourself and the kingdom a favor. Tomorrow night, I will, as I do every Friday night, uh, Steve Hazards will be taking the helm so that I can have a night off. And he always rocks some oldies between 9 and 10.